My husband cheated on me after his family orchestrated our poverty to test my loyalty, so I threw him out and never looked back. A year later, he's at my door asking if he can sleep on my couch. When I first met my husband's family, I thought they were breaking the cruel in-law stereotype. They were kind, and his mom even baked me an apple tart since she knew it was my favorite. They all followed me on Instagram and made sure to invite me to every family tradition they had. But after the engagement party, something shifted. I noticed his mom stopped liking my posts on Instagram. His dad even unfollowed me. I should have seen that as my first sign to leave. But I was lying in bed on his chest when I noticed, and he reassured me that his family just acted strangely sometimes, and they were overprotective of him since he was the youngest out of him and his sister. Well, I didn't want my thoughts to spiral, so I took his word for it. But over the next few weeks, strange things happened. Not to do with his family, but to do with our finances. In one single week, I was suddenly fired from my job. Our landlord raised the rent by 3.4%, the highest allowed amount, and my husband's bank account was hacked into. Like, how does that even happen? It felt like an attack or something. So much so that there was a week-long period where I was crying myself to sleep every night, worried about our next paycheck. My husband kept checking if I wanted him to ask his parents for money, because they were rich. Like old money Ralph Lauren, weekends at the golf course, 1950s expensive car collection rich. And if there was one thing I knew about the top 1%, is that they were sick of people asking them for money. So I refused. The job market was so bad that I went from being a paralegal at a very prestigious law firm to a receptionist at a local dentist office. Meanwhile, my husband wasn't able to take up more hours at work. So for a while, we lived like college kids. Ramen noodles twice a day, didn't buy anything unnecessary, and even canceled our gym and Netflix subscription. It was hard not to feel like we were going backwards instead of forwards, but every cell in my body wanted to marry this man. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. We had already paid for everything back when we were still raking in $200,000 a year, so everything was beautiful. I felt like a Disney princess teehee, but our newfound poor lifestyle was so awful that I had completely forgotten about his parents low-key hating my guts. Luckily, his parents made sure to remind me. It's so brave of you to wear something that was obviously made for someone much skinnier, was the first thing his mom said to me, referring to my wedding dress. I'm glad you're taking pride in being our son's first wife, his dad chimed in. You'll be good practice for when the real one comes in. Their words stung, especially since it was so different from the beginning. But I didn't even care about what had changed, because my mind was focused on paying the bills and figuring out stuff for the future. We've been married for over a year now. I finally got an internship that is supposed to lead to a long-term law career, but it means that my husband and I had to live paycheck to paycheck because we spent all our savings. Meanwhile, the harassment from his parents got even worse. Yay! On our 1-year anniversary, his mom sent me dozens of photos of other girls, asking why I couldn't be as pretty as them. His dad called and asked if I was sure he wasn't cheating on me, and when I answered with yes, he just sighed. The only person who wasn't texting me with BS was his older sister, who seemed to be the black sheep of the family, mainly because she was the only one who didn't switch up. And she still followed me on Instagram too, but I figured that we were going to have kids together one day, so I still kept in contact with them. So for Thanksgiving, we went over to his family's house for dinner. As soon as they opened the door, I regretted it, because as soon as my husband stepped inside, my mother-in-law closed the door in my face. It wasn't until his older sister, Sarah, opened it that I finally went inside. His parents ignored me the whole time, and I guess my husband didn't notice or something because he didn't even check to see if I was doing okay. For dinner, I cooked a side of classic shepherd's pie, using a recipe from my late dad. As soon as his mom tried it, her face contorted like she had bitten into a lemon. She then spit it back out onto the table. My face flushed with embarrassment. I threw it out before running outside and bursting into tears. But then I heard footsteps behind me. It wasn't my husband. It was his sister. She finally confessed. She explained that the entire thing was a test. Apparently, my husband had told his entire family that I was a freeloading bitch who never pulled her weight. And in response, they told him he had to test me to see if I would stick it through the hard times. And because my husband didn't want to be proven wrong, now he was making my life hell to drive me out. She gave me a hug and told me she was sorry, and I should get out of her family while I still can. I hugged her back, but told her I would stay, because I was about to show my husband what people mean when they say to be careful what you wish for. I drove home alone that night, the November air biting through my thin coat. My husband stayed at his parents' house. He texted me saying he needed space to think. I didn't even respond. I just sat in our tiny apartment, staring at the water stain on the ceiling we couldn't afford to fix, and started planning. The next morning, I called my best friend Victoria. She's the kind of girl who turns heads everywhere she goes. Long legs, perfect hair, the whole package. She had that effortless beauty that made other women either hate her or want to be her best friend. I told her everything sister had revealed. She was furious. She immediately offered to help however she could. I asked her to come over for coffee next week when my husband would be home, just to see what would happen. Victoria showed up wearing this tight dress and heels. Her perfume filled our small apartment with notes of jasmine and vanilla. My husband's eyes practically popped out of his head. She pretended not to notice him at first, focusing entirely on me, asking about my internship and how I was handling the long hours. Then she asked if he could help her move some